don't really like that song. Because I'm a bit of a coward. I don't like to ask for things like that. Anybody else? You know that? I mean, you know, we talk about lavish worship is ridiculous when you sing it. I don't like this idea of take me where my, where I'm really going to be dependent on God and so on. It's a tough place to be, and I just thinking and reflecting on that, and I just kind of felt like led to just ask: is there anybody kind of going through a season right now where you're kind of drowning, and all you can do is just look at the Lord, whether you're going through something or not? I just want to pray for you before we get going tonight. Is there anyone going through a season like that? I'm not going to ask you to share. I'm just kind of wondering because I felt nudged to pray for you, please. Okay? All right, let's just pray and then we'll get into this other stuff. Lord, I thank you for these. I thank you that you take us through things to build our faith, and your commitment is that if we can keep our eyes on you, our faith will be stronger on the other end. And I pray for that. I pray for those who raise their hands, and God, that you would help them to keep their eyes on you right now. Lord, I pray that you would help them to trust you in this time. And God, I thank you that your eyes are on them, and that you care more about the situation that they're going through than they ever did. And so, Lord, I pray that you would be true to who you are in their lives and in their situations, Lord. And I do pray that whether there's a week or a month or a year or years from now when we're through this time, that they could look back and say, yeah, I'm so glad I went through that. And Lord, for those of us who sang that song with Ernst, I must confess, I was a little terrified to sing some of those words, Lord. I pray, God, that as you have faith-building exercises and life experiences to take us through to make our faith stronger, Lord, God, that we would be ready to jump in and keep our eyes on you, and that we would remember that we asked for this, actually. And so, God, strengthen our faith this year. In Jesus' name. All right. Well, again, welcome, student leaders. Glad you're here. And I would be remiss not to acknowledge Nick, wherever he is. Oh, he's in the van getting candy for you. What a great intern. Student leadership is always one of these things that is so important yet doesn't really get done unless somebody really dedicates themselves to it. And that's one part of Nick's internship, where last year and again this year, he's really, really elevated our student leadership program. Those of you going into grade 12 that were in it last year know this already, because it's way harder than it's ever been before. Those of you who are going into it for the first time, it's going to be really hard. And if you really go for it, though, you're going to be so much better equipped as you head into whatever the Lord has for you moving on from this time. So thanks to Nick for really going after it. Okay. Just to bring everybody up to speed, from last night and this morning, we've sort of had this 3 phases of our regional plan for small groups. You want to take them now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. YA people, you know who you are. If you're with Pastor Ken, you can leave now. Sorry, my bad. So quickly, because well, you don't have to go quickly. Have fun. We'll miss you. Matt, are you going to miss them? We'll miss you. Okay. So last night I shared with you guys just this idea of regional small groups and what that could look like. And And without any pictures this morning, I kind of tried to re-explain it to you with pictures that you couldn't see tonight. Are you ready for the full thing now?
Oh, yeah.
So we're moving from concept to blurry vision to actual clear picture. What we're going to be doing this year is we're just going back, we're resetting. And going back to a time where we really tried to emphasize regions. And student leaders, pay attention to this because you need to understand this so you can effectively lead your peers towards a positive embracement of, is embracement a word? of this deal, okay? And basically, we're going back in time to where we divide our small groups up based on either where you live or where you go to school. Okay? So let me run through the different zones and then we'll explain a little bit more as we go along. You'll see there's 10 groups, but if you're paying attention, you'll see that, for example, Ottawa West has 2 groups. Nepean has 2 groups. Country has 2 groups. And this is Country. This is Ottawa West. And this is Nepean. Is that right?
Ottawa West is green, Ottawa East is blue.
Oh yeah, I guess I should be on the west side of the city. This is west and this is Nepean. Pardon me. East, west, north, south. Good. And the reason that there's 2 groups for those is because our numbers just dictate that there's more students that come from those areas. Right? Make sense? And so basically what we're going to be doing is asking our students, and this is junior high and high school, on our kickoff night to prayerfully consider what it would look like if they were to get together with people that actually they go to school with and or live in the same area as. Okay? And so they will see this slide. It won't even be a slide like this, it'll be this slide. And so if you're from Gatineau, these are the schools you might go to in Gatineau. We've tried to get as many as we can for that. Okay? And so on. Like, look at Ottawa West, all those schools. Eh? Now keep in mind this includes the feeder schools, middle schools, junior high schools, that kind of thing. It's crazy, isn't it? Ottawa East, of course, and then Nepean on this side. Curious that a fairly low number of schools. Although I see we're missing 1 or 2 there already. But anyway, lower number of schools, but yet a ginormous number of students per capita relative to that. Which makes perfect sense when you move into the neighborhood that you pick up a bunch of people that are in the neighborhood, right? So anyway. Country is over here. And then of course Orleans is up here. Okay? And then Stittsville is here. I'm kind of thinking, whereas Nick, we should probably put these in the order, like kind of either east to west or west to east, I don't know, something like that. Do you think that would anyway. Okay, so that's the idea. Now that's exciting enough, isn't it?
Yep.
Right, Carol? You excited? Yeah. Right there. Am I supposed to be? Yeah. Yeah, I am. Where do you live, Carol? Oh. Oh. So it's going to get even more exciting for you. And where's Jalil? Where do you live, sir? Oh, right. This summer, you already know what this is, but anyway. This summer, we've been doing a lot of thinking and praying and consulting. And here's the bottom line. We feel like we're not doing an effective job of really reaching the 60,000 junior high and high school students that exist in the city. And the format that we're trying to accomplish this in just isn't working to the extent that it should be. I believe that most of our students, when they really catch a vision for what it means to reach out, they actually try. But it's challenging. And we want to make it as easy and as focused as possible. And what I mean by that is, you know, when you hear a really good sermon, you're like, yeah, I got to do that. And maybe even pray, or maybe even just stand up when it's like, stand up if you really want to share your faith this year. You're like, okay, I want to do it. And then you go home and you've got math homework, and then you kind of forget by the time you get to school the next day. You know that feeling? And so we want to help focus you as much as we can. We want to help give you everything that we possibly can to make this happen. And so what we're going to be experimenting with this year is actually taking the Orleans group, oh, there you are, I had you up there, the Orleans group, and we've met with parents and we've met with students, and we've got a team that consists of CJ, assuming she can walk. Actually, we'll take her even on crutches, I think, you know. CJ and Steph, who spent some quality time together going to the hospital, I understand, today, and Jalil, and Nick, and we're still working on building that team. Joyce Belier is going to be out there as well. And we're actually going to be giving the opportunity for anyone from Orleans, and to be honest with you, anyone else who's really excited about this concept, is the chance to actually have met youth in Orleans. So what we mean by that is, by Canadian Thanksgiving, this Orleans group that will be formed in the first couple of nights along with all the other groups, this group will actually be meeting out in Orleans in somebody's home. And this is high school only. But they'll be out there and they will be intentionally going after their community. They'll be praying together for that. They might be going on prayer walks. They might be doing some outreaches, targeting a high school out there. Who knows? God will lead them, and I don't want to be giving too many ideas to lead with it. Okay? And so we're calling this a pilot project, and obviously we hope it works, right? And if it works, then I'm pretty sure the students that are back at the church on Tuesday nights will be going, I want to try this. Okay? And our sense is that the people from Stittsville, led by Carol, will be like, we want to try this and we can't wait till next September. And then we will give in and say, okay, Carol, we got a team ready to go starting second semester. Okay? So the Stittsville group, which is, I don't know, oh, look at that, it's right there. The Stittsville group will be formed and be meeting at the church first semester, but second semester we'll be heading out to Stittsville to try the same type of thing. Learning from some of the things the Orleans group will be learning already. Nick will be working as part of his internship with both groups, making sure they're as successful as possible. Renee and Michelle will be out with the Stittsville group, as will Caitlin and high five Henry there, you're hiding, comfortable in your chair there. We'll be out there, and they'll be working with that group to make that as exciting as possible. Okay? And then you'll be able to go out second semester and really go after it in the Stittsville area. Doesn't that sound awesome? Yep. Woo! The thought of being out there and really going for it, it just gets me excited every time. Mind you, I've shared this idea about 20 times in the last 2 months, so maybe I'm just trying to get myself excited. I don't know. Does it sound a little scary? Who can honestly say that's a little scary? I'm looking at some of the students who are hearing this for the first time. I'm looking at Miriam going, what's country going? Don't worry, it won't be this year. You can graduate. Are you in grade 11 or 12? 12, yeah. So you can graduate. You'll be all right. You know? But honestly, if it goes the way we're hoping it'll go, obviously we're praying and cheering that it'll go. I'm assuming that other groups will be like, we got to get out there. We can't be hanging around at this church here. We got to get out in the community. We got to be going after it. And we want to respond to that, but we want to have a really strong, healthy team that can manage that. And right now we feel like we have 2 really strong, healthy teams that are going to be able to handle this kind of experiment. Okay? And if it crashes and burns and fails, what do? We'll go back to the church and we'll sing a song about Jesus loves us, and we'll lick our wounds and we'll keep going. Right? Well, we've got to try something, don't we? And if you want to know the facts are, when you study youth ministries of our size, to in any way find any kind of growth, it happens through small groups happening around the city. It doesn't happen where everybody gets together every week. And that's just what groups this size and larger are doing, almost as the norm. So we're kind of trying to catch up to what the norm is that way. And yeah. So here's what I need from you guys, and I'm looking more at the students because the sponsors heard about this last night, so they've had a whole 24 hours to process this, and they're good to go basically, right? Questions that you might have, concerns, throw them out now. Because I really would rather deal with them now than in watching a post view put it on Facebook in like 10 minutes. Pastor Joey sucks, he's gone crazy this time. For real. This time it's for real. Any questions? Yeah, sure.
Would that be replacing Tuesday nights?
Yeah, it would happen Tuesday nights. And so what it would look like is in the Orleans group, for example, and Stittsville one next semester. So you understand Stittsville will be second semester. In the Orleans group, they'll go out. The components of youth group you know, right? It's basically play a game, do a little singing, hear some teaching, and discuss it in your small group, and then eat food somewhere in there. You know? And so those components will all be in place, but they'll actually be in the home on Tuesday night. So you'll be in the home, co-ed, and then you'll hear the teaching. It'll probably be like video of either Pastor Matt or myself, or Nick teaching live, depending on what's going on. But more than likely, we'll try to keep you up to speed with the series that are going on. And then you'll break into your guy-girls for your small group time. And then you'll kind of do whatever you want around that. If somebody wants to have some singing with a guitar or something, or whatever, a piano or something like that, or if you want to do a little more prayer time maybe together, if you want to have your snacks together, but there'll be, so the main components will still be there, but it'll really take on the flavor and the identity of your group and how God leads that. And we don't want to put too much of a stress on you as to programmatically. We don't want to tell you this is how you're doing it. We want you to sort of experience what that looks like. Okay? Other questions? That was a good one. Thanks. I'm looking specifically at students. Any questions? Sponsors too, jump in if you think there's something that's come up there. Yes, sir.
So if this is a success and you extrapolate down a couple of years, would you still have net youth at the church?
That's looking way into the future. I don't, or Matt, or Nick, we don't really have an agenda that goes that far. I will say this much. If I told you guys right now we're expecting to be able to minister to maybe 125 high school students this year. You know, and that number has basically been the same for the last 2 or 3 years, and perhaps dropping a little bit. Or, you know, we could have 10 groups out there ministering to 25, 30 students each. I mean, simple math, right? You know, what would you choose? That's kind of the question we need to wrestle with. How can we reach the most students possible with the love of God? You know, so I mean, obviously we want it to work, otherwise we wouldn't try. And if it works, my sense is that more groups will want to try. What it looks like 5 years from now, I don't know. Brian, it's a little too early to say that. There's no plans in place for next September, because truthfully, the more you do this, the more volunteer, adult, strong leadership help we need. We need people like Joyce and like Renee to really step up and say, you know, I can actually run this thing. I can tell you that we are committed to junior high staying at the church. We just feel that junior high ministry still needs that big gym, oily, fun kind of thing going on, and so on. The other thing else, yeah, Cam?
What if a friend comes from a different school?
Like in a different zone?
Yeah.
Then we'll kind of deal with it kind of like we do now. If you legit bring a friend, like if you're not in Orleans, but if you're in Orleans and you bring a friend out, you're going to bring them to Orleans group, right? And so that's kind of the, you know, if it's your legit friend that you're bringing out, then, you know, we'd want to keep your friend with you. That's right. But if your friend is like a student that already attends, then we'd be asking to, you know, be brave and take a deep breath and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Would the separate groups, like Stittsville and Orleans, would they ever go to you at all, or would they just stay completely separate?
Yeah, again, great question. It'll kind of be led by how it's going. So what we're asking the Orleans group to do is between the start of the year and Canadian Thanksgiving to be out there at least once or twice. Like, be out there and give it a try, see how it goes. They might get out there and go, this is so awesome, we don't want to ever go back. Okay? And you think, that's crazy, how could they not want to be with us? And then between Thanksgiving and Christmas to work towards being out there more than they're back at the church. There'll be times where we call them back to we'll want them at the church, like for example, missions conference, we'll want everybody back at the church for that week. There's the Christian college tour fair thing that happens, we probably want everyone back for that.
Maybe for retreats as well.
Retreats, it'll be like, we expect you there. So we are not planting a church as in, bye-bye, I love you, it's been real. It's more, we are cheering for you out there, we are praying for you, we are maybe even FaceTiming you in or Skyping you in to see how it's going. We're with you out there. And especially the groups that stay, we are cheering and praying for Arlene specifically, almost like we're sending out missionaries kind of thing. But you're part of us. You're with us, and we expect you at the retreats, we expect you at the banquets. We expect to see you Sunday morning, right? And that kind of thing. So, other thoughts? These are good questions, really good. Becky?
If it's really successful, would you send out more than the Stittsville group second semester, or do you wait like semester and send out one the next semester, you send out another?
There's no plan beyond the Stittsville one at this point. So, truthfully, we need a strong foundation to send groups out. Okay? And right now we have that, we feel, in 2 spots, but we don't have it, and we don't have signs of it. No offense to anyone, but we don't have signs of that, you know. But we want the Lord to lead as well. So if you'd be country, right? You'd be one of the country groups, or
I'm in the
Nepean, yeah, okay, so whatever. If you're in Nepean and you're in your group, and well, you kind of live one and go to school in the other, right? Don't you? 8th grade this year? Yeah, okay. So if you're in your group, it really doesn't matter where you are for the purpose of the question. If you're in your group and your group's praying and you're just like compelled to get out there, and God is working in other people's lives to create an environment where that can happen, we're not going to, you know, it's pretty hard to resist when that's happening. But there's no plan, there's no agenda afoot to spread out as fast as we can. Yeah, small success is always better than a big failure. So think about that. Okay? Other thoughts or questions? Let me tell you one other fun fact when it comes to youth ministry. Okay? The easiest way to reach students and build a youth group. Okay? Don't get lost in the talk of numbers, because it's not about numbers, it's about people hearing about Jesus. Right? You get that. But the easiest way to build a youth group is to take 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 students, put them in a situation where they got a couple or 3 loving adults in their life, and set them loose somewhere. And that group will almost always drive to 20, 25 students within a year. Almost always, if you're actually praying and trying. Okay? I don't want to get into the whys of it all, but there is it just is the way it is. Once you hit about 25 students, it is almost impossible to grow past that number. Almost impossible. And does anybody know why? Or have an idea why? Sorry? Perhaps because you don't have leadership, sure.
Don't fit in the house.
Don't fit in the house anymore? Not as personal? Sure.
Happy with the size of the group?
Yeah! The word I was thinking was comfortable. You get comfortable. And once you're comfortable, you don't try anymore. Right? You know, when I move, and I'm moving furniture from house to house, I always move my lazy boy in last. Because I know once it's there, I'm going to sit down and nothing else will get put in place. Because I'm comfortable, right? And once you're comfortable, you don't try anymore. You know? And so when you create this place of a little bit of uncomfortableness, that's where you're really depending on God. That's where you're really going for it. Now, how many regret singing that song with Leland and hearing this? We set you up. No. But, so that's why. And then to grow beyond that is almost impossible. One little story, and then we'll move on, unless you want to have other questions. But when I was in Sault Ste. Marie, I was there for basically 5 years. I got there was 4 students, my first night of youth group. They hired me to start a youth group because the church didn't have any teenagers. Went up to Sault Ste. Marie, and I started with these 4 guys, and within a year we had 25 people. And it was awesome, and God was at work. And then for the next 2 or 3 years, we had 25, 30 people. Sometimes we got as high as 37, and other times we dropped down to 21 or 18. But basically, we played in that area because they got comfortable. And it drove me crazy, because I think most of you know me well enough to know it drives me crazy when students are living so close to Jesus, and nobody will tell them. It just drives me bonkers. I can't get my brain around it. And so it's driving me bonkers. And then we decided to experiment with this idea in our little group up in this little Baptist church in Sault Ste. Marie. We started with 2 groups. And we said to the groups, here's the deal, we're going to divide into, basically 2. We got 2, as soon as we hit 15, 20 students, then we're going to multiply the groups into a 3rd one. Okay? But this is where we're starting. And we went out there, and honestly, from September till about February, there was a night in February we hit 68 total students. And we basically lived in that world until, till the end of the year, then we moved on, and things happened, and so on. So, I know it works, okay? I know it can work, I should say. I can't guarantee you it will work. It will depend on the people and God moving and all that kind of stuff. One last little story. I was sitting, this is again up in Sault Ste. Marie, I was sitting in, I don't know why that happens, but anyway. I was sitting up in Sault Ste. Marie, and these parents called me, and they said, can you come over, we want to talk about our son. I said, sure. I went over, and their son, the situation was their son was going to be grade 9 or 10, I forget, but like in the younger grades of high school, and he was trying out for a hockey team, and he'd made the team at that level in the past, and they were really concerned because he really didn't want to have much to do with God, and they're like, what do we do? And I'm like, I don't know, because I really like hockey, and I get that he really likes hockey, and I know it's a challenge, and I said, and as I was in there, this is so selfish of me, but as I was sitting in their basement, I was looking around their house going, this would be a perfect house for one of our small groups. And they're like, oh yeah, your son, right. And then I said to them, I said, listen, one idea that might sound crazy is, why don't you host one of our groups, and then he kind of has to be here for what's happening in his house. Yeah, that'd be great. And then they're like, but what if he just leaves and goes to hockey, and we're kind of stuck here with other people's kids? I'm like, oh, it's a chance to take, right? So they agreed to host the thing, okay? And just before the first week we're going to try it, the kid goes to a hockey tryout, and he busts his ankle so bad he needed surgery. He was basically out for the year. And he was in the hospital for the first 2 weeks of these small groups, okay? The students decided in that little group that they were going to have a small group at his hospital bed. They spent the first 2 weeks around his hospital bed. They hardly even knew the guy because he never came out. Right? Around his hospital bed, having their small group right there. It was unbelievable. The kid comes home and he has, this is God's sense of humor, The guy had to sit on his couch with his foot up while small group or youth group happened in that basement all year long. And of course, by the time he was ready to walk and have fun and do his thing again, he was so ingrained with these guys that, I think he kept playing hockey, but it was certainly not the priority anymore. And I just kind of laughed, And that same small group, there was another girl, that's the last story, but there's another girl, she kept inviting a friend out, and the friend wasn't allowed to come because our church was downtown, it was kind of in a sketch neighborhood, and the church buildings kind of freaked her a bit, and so she wasn't allowed to come. And the girl would come to me and say, please pray for my friend, because da-da-da-da-da, and we pray, and the kid would basically, so, I'm driving up to the same house with the hockey player, with the parents and everything. And I'm driving up one night, get out of the car, and there is the girl we've been praying for. She walks across the street, like in front of my car, and I get out and I go, hey, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, I'm going to youth group. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I live right here. And her house is right across the street from this house. Can you believe it? We had no idea. And she was part of the group. You know? So when you put yourself out in these situations, it's not as if God's letting you drown out there. He's actually got some very cool things that will make up your stories. That will make you go, whoa, we actually trusted God and look what happened. You know? And so, I don't say that to promise anything, because I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm committed to trying. And what I'm looking for from our leadership team is a commitment to let's really try. Okay? And I'm looking particularly at our student leaders. And I'm saying, I know you're just hearing this, you're just processing it, and I'm open to discussion on this, you know, the rest of our weekend together and whenever. But when we're trying to talk to our students about this, our peers, I'm not asking you to say, I love it, we're going for it, it's going to be great, but I am asking you to go, we're going to try. You know? It's worth trying. Okay? 2 questions that haven't been asked that I'm going to answer anyway. One is, what if I really, really, really don't want to? What if I live in Orleans and I've prayed about it and I've thought about it and I just don't want to? Then you really don't have to. You can join the Ottawa East group and do your thing. And to be honest, there won't even be that much judgment because it's kind of you and God figuring it out. But, okay, so there's a little bit of an out there. You know? Here's the other question that needs to be answered that hasn't been asked. What if I don't live in Orleans or I don't live in Stittsville and I really want to do this? Like when I hear this, I'm going, I've got to be a part of this. And I'm in grade 12 and this is my last year. And I just want to be a part of something exciting. I want to get out there and go for it. But I live in Osgood and I'm stuck because my group's not going out there. You know? You will be allowed to join one of these 2 groups. Yeah, you know, but you will be allowed. If you come to me and say, you know what, Pastor George, God has laid it on my heart to just go out to Orleans. I don't know why. I don't speak French. I don't even know where Orleans really is. It's way far away from my house. But God has just put it on my heart to go, and I've just got this stir in me to go for it. Then, you know, so it works both ways. Okay? Good. Oftentimes we hear what we want to hear when we hear these things. So I hope what you didn't hear was, oh, we don't have to, we don't want to. That's not really what we're saying. Okay? Are we good? Any last thoughts? Carol!
Okay, so what if, like, they live in Michigan, would they go to school in Stittsville, like, the high school, is it
Right.
that LA will go to?
What we're going to say is go to a small group either where you go to school to or where you live in. For some people I recognize it's different. Like,
Yeah, but I have a friend who lives in Michigan, but she goes to Bell.
right. So we would say to that friend, well, kind of, yeah. No, but we would say go to either where you live or where you go to school. So some people live in a zone and they go to school in a different one. The obvious example is the kids that go to Redeemer. You know, they come from all over the city and end up in, I think it's Green, I think, maybe otherwise, I can't remember. But, so yeah, it'll be, because community is defined a little bit differently when you're in high school, eh? It's not necessarily where you live as much as, because your school is so much a part of where you are. So, yeah, a bit of option. Yes, sir, high five. Are you offering me a high five, or is this a question? Or both?
High five. And let's go. For the groups that are staying at the Methodist are not necessarily dispersing out into their respective communities. How are the students to be encouraged or helped equipped to reach out to their respective communities, whatever that might look like?
Good question.
They don't feel like that, like they're just kind of stuck in the
Yeah. There will be a, did you catch what he was asking? Like the groups that are staying at the church, how will they catch the bug for this, if I'm summarizing? We're going to be encouraging all small groups to be very intentional in reaching out to their communities. So, in the past, you might have had a, what is that? Can you switch Zach's thing over when we go through? In the past, we've said have a small group activity, get to know each other. Now we're saying get together, pray, and plan something together in your region. So if you're a country group and you're and you might decide to get, to do something crazy in and around, something going on in Manotick or Osgood or whatever. I'm just kind of making stuff up, but like to really pray and go after something there. Maybe a group of you will say, you know what, we all kind of go to Osgood High, home of the Osgood Township High School Panthers, Panther Pride. And so we're really going after that school. We're together. Now that we realize we're here, I was talking to some parents the other night from the Stittsville area. They were like, I don't even think very many people live out here. And Nick's like, actually, there's 21. I'm like, no. Yep. Really? Yep. And the next day he emailed them the list of all the people. Like, I can imagine them looking at the emails and, oh, didn't even know. You know what I mean? So once you realize you're there and you're together and you've got a heart for this, then you'll start doing things like that. I can see youth alpha groups, for example, popping up. I can see, when there's a Santa Claus parade in town, doing something outreach driven, handing out candy cane, doing something to impact your community that way. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah.
We good? I feel like an excitement stirring, like popcorn. It's just about to start popping, Like that first minute when it's in the microwave, you don't hear anything. You wonder, did I forget to put the bag in? And all of a sudden, pop, 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 pop. Before you know it, you're watching the game. All right, with that in mind, the great unveil. As you look at this board, what? Don't get too freaked out, for starters, okay? This is a very, very, very rough work in progress. Okay? Don't get scared. Look at Carrie just getting scared. Don't get scared. This year, I'll throw you in the river again. Okay? Let me just explain the board. You can look at some stuff, and then Nick's going to come and guide us through some stuff that will help us a little bit. Basically, we've got junior high girls, junior high guys, high school gals, student leaders, and the missionaries that they support. Okay? Where you see a line, like this line right here, that means that's a spot where we actually need a sponsor to fill. Okay? So when you say, do you really need sponsors? You didn't tally up the numbers here, Nick, but that's okay. 2, 3, we need a couple dashes there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need 6 junior high girl sponsors right off the hop. Okay? 6, 7, what did I say? And so on. Okay? Wherever you see a dash, and in some places there isn't a dash, I'm not sure why. But where you see a dash, that means we don't have a sponsor for that spot. Am I missing any others? Sorry, where? Okay. Student leaders you see over here. Right? Right? So when we say we need sponsors, we're not joking. Okay? You guys know the simple math. One sponsor can effectively minister to 5 students. So I get asked this all the time, Pastor, how's the kids? And I'm like, they're fine. One's in high school, one's in college, one's going into junior kindergarten. No, the students. I'm like, oh, those guys. Yeah, they're good. How many you got now? Because that's all people seem to care about, right? How many go there? Must be like thousands, eh? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really like to talk about numbers too much. Yeah, but how many, Pastor? I'm like, well, let me put it this way. We've got 5 students being ministered to by every adult that wants to minister to students. Would you like to minister to students with me? I'm praying for you, Pastor! And then they're gone, right? It's the quickest way to end a conversation. So we need sponsors, right? And I know, remember Pastor Matt, he'll hand you a card and say, write down names of people you think would make a good sponsor. Remember all that exercise? We have been tirelessly spending all of our time this summer going after sponsors, talking to them, interviewing them, recruiting them. Some of them are here this weekend because of that. Some are moving towards that. They're not quite there yet. We're hoping to add another 5 or 7 or 8 names based on what we think is going to be happening in the next week or so. But even with that, we are running a huge deficit. Okay? And so we need to pray. I know part of Nick's time with us in the next few minutes is going to be praying for more sponsors. We need you to be harassing adults in your life who attend the men and love Jesus and saying, would you please step up? Because I got a friend to bring the youth group, and the way I see this board, my friend won't get ministered to. And perhaps I won't either. You know? That's kind of where we're at. All right? And so we need, right? So hopefully that's taking your focus off of which group am I into. Wow, we need to get praying, and we need to get recruiting, and we need to get going after this. Agreed? Yeah? No? Don't agree? Agree? Keep preaching, Pastor Joey? No? What? I have a hard time reading you guys. Yes?
What are the X's mean?
Thank you for asking. The X's are with junior high. It's a smaller crowd. And so what we've intentionally done is put X's through the Stittsville Orleans group for now, just to not confuse things a whole lot. And so we'll probably be playing with that a little bit. So, long story
That's
short.
the junior high. That's the junior high.
Junior high, yeah, not the high school. So really what it means is that the junior high will have 8 groups, not 10. You know, as a full. Because that just reflects sort of the size and so on. Yes, sir.
Like, what if we find a junior high friend of ours that we want to bring to our Orleans group? Is that okay if we just bring them to?
That's a good discussion we're having still. What we prefer is that they can come to junior high at the church, because we do feel like when you bring younger kids to a high school program, it kind of, you know what I mean? There's no junior high kids here, but you know what I mean. You guys used to be in junior high. You know how mature you were. Remember that, Matt? How mature you were? Yeah. It was embarrassing, really. It was the guy used to talk nonstop, and then finally. Yes, Becky.
What if you know somebody?
Becky, you know there's no reward for most questions, eh?
Yes, I
Okay. Go ahead.
What if you guys think? What if you know somebody that could be a sponsor, but they don't fit into any of the categories that you need?
Oh, that's where I say don't worry too much about where the names are. Because with the sponsors, we had a conversation last night that basically went, as much as it depends on what we can do, we're going to get you in groups that reflect where you live. They know that there'll be some flex there. Okay? So, yeah. So there might be a sponsor ministry who's from the country that lives in West Ottawa, say, for example, and that's just them being even more sacrificial. Okay? Other questions on this? Okay, so I'm going to turn things over to Nick. You're going to break into thunderous applause. It wouldn't surprise me if a standing ovation broke out because he's doing such a great job. And we're going to have some fun working through some stuff together. Ladies and gentlemen, it's intern Nick.
Stand up and stretch for a second while I get my. All right. Yeah, grab a seat, guys. All right, so, right here. For the second half of session 3, we're going to look at kind of the nuts and bolts of small groups and what that entails at Met Youth. So kind of the different steps, all the things that are involved with Met Youth. Because there are a lot of different things going on, and especially if you're first year coming into it, it's good as much of a heads up as we can give you as possible. Ideally, we'll want to put you guys, if you're new, with someone who's done this before, just so they can help you through some of the different dynamics that happen at Met Youth. There's a lot of different pieces and stuff like that. But I want to give you guys some practical tips on how to have a really great small group. Most of your time, or a good chunk of your time as sponsors, is spent in that small group time. A primary big rock of Tuesday nights is intentional community. When you guys are in your rooms or out in the homes, going through discussion questions and connecting with students and having real important conversations. Getting to know them, building the relationship and the trust, and having those meaningful spiritual conversations. You know, you can't see it now, but asking about where they are in circles and how to move them and where they want to grow and move. So, here are some tips as we go. Starting off, every small group leader or anyone involved in discipleship kind of deals with this tension of, one, you really care about the students and their spiritual life and where they're at, and two, realizing that as much as you care, no matter how much you love them and want to see them grow and become more like Jesus, you can't actually make that happen. Right? Principle one, small group leaders are to be most concerned with the spiritual transformation of their group members. That's the role of the sponsor, right? Your small group to care that much about your students, about your Fab Five. But principle two, small group leaders are never able to manufacture spiritual transformation within their group members. That's a tough challenge to kind of wrestle with, but this is the reality and where God can come in and actually do some stuff, because this is where we're living. We want to make things happen. We really do. We want to see students grow closer to God, but we can't do it ourselves, right? And that's where God comes in. But we live with this tension. I hope that doesn't discourage you at the same time. We want to look at tips on actually how to do a good small group, how to use the big rocks and the circles, and everything that's built into Met Youth to actually put students in a place where God can help them grow. Right? We still have a role in all this. This doesn't negate everything you've learned or will learn about practically leading groups. And all the practical skills you've learned or will learn should be subordinate to prayer. Prayer is a huge part. We want to spend a lot of time tonight praying for our small groups. When you show up on a Tuesday night, depending if you're junior high or high school, the timing's a little different. But we come into the room, either big room in the Max hallway or into the theater. We play a game. We spend some time, musical worship, and announcements, and it's teaching time. Once teaching wraps up, we go off to our small groups. Junior high, you have half an hour in a room discussing questions, or if you're a boys group, just trying to get everyone to sit down all at the same time. If you're a high school guys group, maybe the same thing. We have 60 minutes with the high school, 30 minutes with junior high. We have the rule of thirds, is the way we like to think about it. So you have prayer, discussion, and then connecting, right? Just catching up, how's everyone doing, laughing, building that relationship, right? You can't just jump into prayer and spiritual discussion, especially depending on where they are in the circles, without actually building a relationship and connecting with them. However you do that, that's up to your group and what feels comfortable and natural and actually allows you to do all three parts well. As I'm sharing with you guys, I do have some of the experience as a sponsor, so I can tell you kind of what's worked for me, and that's some of the tips that I want to actually provide for you guys, and some of the stuff that didn't work so well. If it works for your group, ending with prayer is kind of a natural thing, and most groups work that way. What I kind of realized near the end is usually you'll spend, if you're a high school group, 20, maybe a little longer, 25 minutes just chatting. Takes you a little longer to get going, and then you get into discussion questions, and depending what the questions are and who's engaged, that'll take up probably almost right to the end, and then you have 5 minutes, or it's already 9 o'clock, and you say, okay, who wants to pray? Prayer request? Great. Okay, can you say a quick prayer? And we're gone. Because parents are out waiting, maybe you want to pick them up. So rethink that maybe. If that's the kind of strategy you've been going with, maybe start with prayer, or do connecting prayer and then questions, or however it works for you. Play with that. But we want all three components to be part of your 1 hour or half hour during Tuesday nights. Okay, that's a key part of your time in the rooms or in the homes. as well as your commitment on Tuesday nights. We talk a lot about your time spent with students outside of program time, outside of the Tuesday night. And part of what we have for you guys is the Connect Cash, as we talked about, and Tuesday we'll clarify what you guys will be given. But primarily that's to be used, as we said, to connect with students one-on-one or two-on-one, right? Not for the big parties where the whole group gets together, but an opportunity just to meet, have a coffee, kind of check in with how they're doing, and build that relationship outside of just a structured Tuesday night time. On top of that, again, is the small group parties, organizing something. And part of what's great about this is no matter where you guys are at thinking about that, you actually can meet a lot more conveniently, right? Because you have the conversation, you look at your students, okay, well, he's in Orleans, he's in Stittsville, he's downtown. Okay, meet at the church because that's central, right? That's usually where that conversation ends up every time. But now you can actually meet in your neighborhood, actually get connected, actually meet parents in a more natural way, right? You're actually going to go maybe stay at their homes, they'll offer to host, and everyone's there. That becomes a lot easier, a lot more natural. And the last one there, showing up at students' games, plays, performances. One thing to talk about with your small group early on is, what sports, what extracurricular stuff are you involved in, and when are these things so we can actually show up and cheer on together. Creating a small group culture that wants to celebrate and cheer each other on. Find out when his football game is so we can all go and pack the stands. Or find out when the school play is and you can go and actually watch together. So small groups 101. Here are some things to expect, some tips, things to be ready for in 2 weeks' time when we're kicking off, and then a week after that when we're actually in our small groups. 1, prepare for awkwardness. Just expect it, right? Depending on how your group, they might all show up and all know each other, and maybe everyone seems comfortable. But there's still going to be moments where it's awkward, especially when you get into discussion questions. Groups may go quiet. And just acknowledge that that's happening. One of the best pieces of advice I've gotten for helping me lead a small group is when it's silent, just let it be silent. You ask a question, and then no one says anything and kind of just avoids eye contact at all costs. Just let it sit. And let someone else break it. And then don't let it go on forever, that's not what I'm saying. But don't feel like you're the one who has to fill the silence every second. Because then what happens is you're either junior high sponsor talking for 30 minutes, or high school, you're just talking for the full hour, right? Just let them answer. And then a step farther, depending on your relationship with students, just call them by name. And say, hey, what do you think? Okay? Prepare and acknowledge the awkwardness. When you're building relationships, we're talking about the third one there. Building relationships, we talk about building trust. That gives you the opportunities to ask these kind of questions. Students will actually share and open up with you. Kind of think of it as a bank account, right? And if you're going to ask or trying to withdraw anything that requires trust, you actually need to put deposits in. So making that time to actually connect with them, that's why it's key to have that as part of your thirds, right? Connecting, prayer, and discussion. So make those relational deposits early, right? Get to know your students, try and connect with them early on, outside of Tuesday night. Figure out what high school or junior high they're at, and meet them for a pop or a coffee after school. Be proactive with that. Try and connect with your students early on, build a relationship so you can have good conversations. Emotional intelligence and empathy, right? You're going to slowly learn these stories and what these students are going through. And just as you start to wade into that, be smart about it. And just be empathetic to what they're going through. And try and understand how big the problems are for a junior high or high school student is, even though at this point they might not be. Right? If they just broke up with their first girlfriend or boyfriend, you might be thinking, oh, just whatever, suck it up. But that is significant. And it hurts. And just enter into it with them. Right? Show empathy. Show that, okay, I can remember that when that happened to me. And actually relate with them on that. Show empathy. The next one, make more relational deposits for when you get it wrong. So when you do say, oh, just suck it up, and they look at you and like they're just crushed, that's when you want to start building that trust up again. Because you've broken it in some sense, right? And there's more serious cases of that and lesser, but we're not perfect. We're going to say the wrong thing sometimes. We're going to forget someone's name, right? We're going to forget their birthday or do something like that. So just keep making those relational deposits, connecting with them, building that relationship. Another big thing, high school and junior high, is identity. And I've seen some of these youth worker journals talking about, I think, identity and how big that is at this stage. So look at ways to affirm their identity in Christ. What you see in them, how they're growing. You know, what big rocks are developing in their life, or how they're becoming more like Christ. Their spiritual gifts as you see them come out. And encourage them in that. Be authentic without glorifying sin. So be vulnerable. Be open, right? Don't present yourself as this perfect person. There's sometimes the expectation that the sponsor or the pastor has it all together. That doesn't have to be the case, right? Be open. Share your prayer request, what's going on in your life. At the same time, don't go too far, right? And glorify sin is the other extreme there. And then the last one, the pressure as you actually go through discussion, is you don't have to go through all the questions. The reality is as we spend time, and Pastor Matt and Pastor Joey spend time in developing your small group questions, but there's an element of trying to make it one size fits all. You know, sometimes they're specific to junior high and high school, but they might not fit your small group dynamic that night. And discussion might go somewhere else, and you see that actually will be good, right? And good for your group. So don't feel constrained to answering every single question on the page. Pastor Matt shared this earlier, shared ownership, and this is going to lead us into talking about student leadership specifically, but there's your small group in general as well. And part of this role as a sponsor, as you're discipling students, is doing discipleship as Christ showed it. So the 4 different spots, ideally, is sharing the task, sharing the big task, Great Commission, but whatever you're involved with a relationship. Collaborative discipleship. The other options, if you do just relationship and no task, then it becomes shallow, right? You're not diving in. There's no real growth going on it. It becomes really self-focused. If it's no relationship and no shared task, there's no discipleship at all. Right? There's nothing. And then if it's just task and no relationship, it's cold. There's nothing, there's no love there. It's just work for me. Put the time in, and that's all you get out of that. We're going to show a quick video about student leadership, and then I'm going to come and talk after that.
Doug Franklin here at Leader Tracks. We're in the world headquarters. I want to say
International world headquarters.
international. It's in not in Wheaton. Where are we?
Well, we're in Edgerton, Carroll Stream.
Okay, there you go. Carroll Stream, the home of Tyndale and Leadership Journal, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Doug is his whole pedigree is for 20 years been doing student leadership camps, retreats, and not just that. You are all about helping youth workers cast vision for what it means to develop leaders. So, in this, I don't want to do the talking. I want you to do the talking. Why do you think this is important? Because we just frame it this way. There's a lot of people out there saying, "Don't push kids; they're already stressed enough."
Yeah, I hear that all the time. But the church is one generation away from being out of leaders. And if there's one thing that the church needs more than anything else, it needs leaders. But we also see that there's apathy amongst our students because all they're doing is getting entertainment thrown at them, and they never get involved. They never get connected. So So student leadership does a lot for the church. One is it's developing leaders now that can have impact today and tomorrow, which is huge. But also two is, I've noticed that when a student owns something, when a student really leads something, when a student is involved, it kills apathy. It changes the apathy and it says, you know what? I got skin in the game. I'm in this thing. I can make this happen. This is on me. And it changes. It changes the way other students respond to them as well, too.
Yeah.
You know, when the youth worker says, hey, we're going to go and do this event or this activity, okay, you know, I kind of know what that is. But the student stands up and says, we got a plan. We're gonna go out to a truck stop and we know there's been sex trafficking going on, and we're gonna protest there. We're gonna put up some signs, and we're gonna go around and we're gonna feed some of the people that are there that are part of what's going on. Then everything changes.
Yeah.
Because now I'm not just part of what, you know, Youth Pastor Bob is doing. I'm part of what my friend Sam is leading.
Yeah.
And that changes everything as well, too.
Well, the power of the peer, for years I would go, you know, I would struggle to have kids listen to me when I would teach them every day.
Yeah.
But then when I get a teenager, just to share a 5-minute testimony,
Oh, yeah.
the room is silent. And the teenager's a bad speaker.
Yeah, terrible.
But because of the power of the peer. Now, most youth workers, you know, I've got Sunday morning to pull off, I've got Wednesday night to pull off, I've got all this stuff to pull off. I love the idea of student leadership, but it just seems like an extra thing. How do I change
know.
that?
And I think that's the way a lot of youth pastors look at student leadership. They look at the big pie of all the things that they have to do and they compartmentalize it. Well, I still think evangelism, outreach, discipleship, service, those are all key parts of youth ministry. They're just better when students lead them. You know, the thing about it is that you can do all those things and keep doing all those things, but the question is where are students going to have ownership of those things? You know, you can try to do evangelism and outreach, but you're not going to be as powerful as that student is going to be on the campus. You can try to be doing discipleship and you can call students to come to, you know, a small group time at your church, but the truth of the matter is the students that have conversations with one another at Starbucks are so much more powerful than they're ever going to be in your small groups. So the truth of the matter is all of those things are important. They're just better when they're student-led, or when there's some student involvement in it that goes beyond participation.
So how do I start? What do I do? If I'm a youth worker out there and I've got a youth group of kids, but I haven't identified any student leaders, what should I do?
Okay, I think the first thing you do is you ask yourself who's giving, who's connected, who's really, you know, having some impact themselves. And I think you ask them, hey, you want to join me? There's some things I want to see us do as a youth ministry, and I'd love for you to join me. I think it's also important that students, that youth workers whisper in students' ears, I think you're a leader. I see leadership in you. In fact, when you ask anybody, when was the moment you knew you were a leader? It was when somebody else told them. So I would start with that. But then I would also look for some great resources out there. I think the first thing we got to help students understand is how God has wired and made them. Because the number one mistake I think that most student leadership programs make is they try to get students to mimic somebody. Like, I'm going to mimic this person, this leader that I like, or I'm going to try to mimic the senior pastor or some coach at school. The truth is God has wired and made them in a unique and special way, and you need to connect with that.
And what is the resource you guys have for that?
Student,
30 seconds.
Student Leaders Start Here. It's a great book. It's got 6 different assessments in it. It's got some great Bible study in it. It's some of a book that a youth worker can go with a student, like just one-on-one, or a student can go through it. It's a really great resource.
There.
There we go.
Look at that product placement.
Yeah.
Hey, here's the deal. We are like-minded in that we believe that kids are not the future of the church. They are the church today. We've got to help them understand what it means to lead in the church, not just sit and take up space. We believe that teenagers can and should be leading in the church, but it's our job as leaders to get them. And you use the word, you know, invite them. Everybody wants to be invited to something. And so the reality is people that are in ministry, they were either asked or they felt called. And there's some kids in your ministry that feel called. They're just waiting for you to ask. And the team at LeaderTrex, and I'm here, it's an amazing team. LeaderTrex.org has all the resources you need to take it to the next level.
Yeah, appreciate that very much.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, Doug Fields here with 5-Minute Youth Ministry, and I'm with another DF, Doug Franklin here at LeaderTrex. We're the world head.
We're going to watch it just once. That's okay. I think one of the challenges we have each year is we talk to our student leaders and we talk to our sponsors. But we don't talk together. So the expectations and the responsibilities and what we'd like to see happen doesn't get communicated to both groups. So I'm going to try and do a really good job of explaining what we'd like to see with student leadership. Okay? The reality is I'm going to try and connect with all you student leaders as best as possible and learn your gifts and how we can see unique ways that you can get involved with Met Youth and in your schools and different ministries. But your sponsors are going to know you far better. And they're going to be the ones who see, okay, I think there's some real talent and potential and your gifting is to work in this area. And they're going to be the ones who are able to call you into that. And to see where you could be serving God. Or where you're already serving God and coach you in how to improve in that. As your already role as a student leader, you guys already know, but I want your sponsors to know so they can help you in it, that they know how to count on you in making it a great small group, and that they can keep you accountable. So the purpose, right, of student leadership is an opportunity to grow as servant leaders through leading by example and serving on Tuesdays and outside and as a lifestyle, but serving in a practical role on Tuesdays. The examples of leadership outside, obviously in the world, are fame-based, selfish-based, always seemed about getting ahead, past the other person, climbing over top. That's the corporate ladder kind of example. But within Christianity, we look to Christ, and his example of leadership is serving others. So we can't isolate that when we want to teach leadership to you guys and give you an opportunity to grow that way. So that's crucial that you understand it's service-based. We haven't mentioned it to you guys, to the student leaders yet, but our big rock for this year is faithful service. So it's going to connect really well, and you guys are going to have a lot of practical application for it. And as you can see, our great banner here is our theme for this year, full serve. All right, thinking if you can remember a gas bar when you go up and an attendant actually fills your gas. It's a little past that time, it's pretty rare now, but that's what our theme is for this year, full serve. So, expectations of student leaders. And you guys, for the most part, know these already. Some of you, your second year, so you really know them well. But I want sponsors to hear it as I'm telling you guys at the same time. So expectation is that you attend weekly and that you're there and actively participating. Now, that doesn't go without saying there are circumstances, the reasons you're not going to be able to make every single Tuesday. But you should at least, if you can't make it, have the conversation with your sponsor. Hey, I'd really like to be here, but this is what's going on. You know, pray for one another, pray that small group goes well, and that's great. But the expectation is that you're going to be there. As I said, actively participate, that includes every part. So you show up, and you might be one of the few leading the charge to play the, I think, usually good and fun but lame game that we're playing down front in the theater. Right? You're going to lead that charge for me, because it's kind of awkward just to keep going, hey, does anyone want to play? And no one come down. To be actively involved in the singing and the worship, and depending on your personality, how that works, but to be actively involved in the worshiping. If you're really out there with your hands up in the air and singing nice and loud, then great, do that. If you're, hands in your pocket, but genuinely worshiping God, that's great too. But be engaged with what's going on. Listening to the teaching. Having your Bible, your notebook, whatever you do, connect in to whatever Pastor Matt or Pastor Joey are talking about that thing. And then when it comes to discussion, here's what I found really helpful for a student leader to do. So to be helpful in part of connecting with students with prayer and discussion, and to be actually wanting to get into each part. Where that came in real handy is when I wanted, as a sponsor, wanted to start discussion questions and asked, okay, what do you guys think about this? And students weren't quite ready to shift from connecting time or just goofing off to discussion time.
If the student leader in the room is also saying, hey guys, I really want to talk about this,
that's really helpful. And then what that pressure comes off of you, and you don't feel like the teacher in the room that just has to keep getting the students to pay attention. You actually have the support and the small groups working together. I think I skipped by it earlier, but when we were talking about task and relationship, I think it said, get a champion for your small group. Sponsors, you already have the champion in your student leader. Someone else who's going to be excited for small group, talking positively about small group, right? That being a highlight for them and for you. So it doesn't feel like you're just the one who has to, you know, if you say the retreat is great, well, you're the sponsor, you have to say that. But if the peer says, I can't wait, I'm already signed up, that goes a lot farther. Right? Be a champion for the small group. So again, I said it already, but attend events, retreats, and meetings. So it's the expectation, and we're all going to get these little save the date cards on Tuesday. All the events are there, so you guys can plug them into your calendar and try and deal with any conflicts as best as possible, and sign up for them. And the last one, welcome and include new students. You're the peers, you can actually connect with these people, see new faces, get them connected with your group of friends, introduce them so they don't feel like they're just wandering around and feel really uncomfortable. Because we have a big group. So when you show up on the first night, you don't know anyone, it's kind of nerve-wracking. So help them out that way. To continue, there's a mutual agreement, I guess, to help each other out, sponsors and student leaders. The first one, I said, being champions of the group. The second one, and this one we're hard at work at, and we really love doing it, right? Student leaders of past years, calling and connecting with students. So one of the cool things that student leaders can do is because they're, you know, we talked about child youth protection and the challenge there. But student leaders can connect with students much easier with less challenge because they're peers. Right? They can go for a coffee and hang out, and getting parental permission is still an important part, but there's a lot less red tape with that as it would be with sponsors. And then once a week, sponsors, student leaders want to help you carry this load. Call the rest of the students, check in with them how they're doing, pray for them, and then just say, hey, looking forward to seeing you Tuesday night, hope you can come. And that goes a long way. Building that relationship, showing that you care. And depending on your personality, student leaders, that might be a hard part, is picking up the phone. Because I think our generation and yours, this kind of gap, has a real fear of the phone. And that's a hard thing. Sponsors, as a flag there, encourage them on this. Because we could say last year, that was a really hard thing. I would ask, okay, who's been calling, who's comfortable calling other students? Not many. It was something that was actually outside of many people's comfort zone. So be aware of that, as you know that this is a responsibility of student leaders, and help them in that. Sorry. We said for earlier for sponsors, prayer is the most important part of leading a small group. Student leaders enter into that with them. Pray together, pray separately. Keep taking your small group to the Lord. And then you'll be working with yourselves as leaders of it and the students in your group. Sponsors, you can help your student leaders through encouragement. And this is what I'm committing to. Just keep going. You're doing a great job. Seeing what they're doing well, seeing what they could use a little extra help with. Training. What will their role be in your small group? You know, will you give them an opportunity to lead discussion? You know, as we enter into that and they show leadership. To pray for the group and lead the prayer. To coordinate the snack schedule for the group, who brings it each week. Or one that I think is really good, depending on your student leader and what they're really excited about, because you want to try to give them what they really want to do, is be the person who's in charge of connecting with your missionary. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But each group's going to have a missionary family or partner, and you guys are going to have the task together to build intentional community with this missionary. And accountability, right? So to be seeing, okay, what needs a little extra help? What needs a reminder on what to do better? As you're talking about living above reproach, how you can help them in that way as well. So I'm going to move to adopt a missionary. And that's one of our last ones, and then we'll be wrapping up. I thank my God every time I remember you. In all my prayers for all of you, I always pray with joy because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. I don't know how many years ago we started doing this partnership with missionaries in small groups. But this has been a really cool way to get students aware and connected with the missionaries that the Met supports, and another way that missionaries can be supported by their home church. This is huge. As they're out overseas or even within country and within city, they're deeply involved in their ministry, and they can feel less and less connected with the church that is supporting them. So having people who are trying to connect with them, they know who are praying for them, is huge. At its roots, member care is friendship and partnership with missionaries. I can't help but think of intentional community as we're talking about this. It's an opportunity to apply your group's love, gifts, and creativity by supporting others doing effective outreach. It's a reciprocal relationship. So at the beginning, right, same as the first week of small group may feel a little awkward, reaching out and starting a relationship may feel that way too with your missionaries, depending on your personality and the ability to just develop a relationship. But there's going to be benefits both ways as you start praying and having a heart for the ministry at work they're doing. And they'll be praying for you as well as they get to know you. It flows out of the gospel and exemplifies church unity. It's an incredible example. As these missionaries can sometimes feel disconnected, as I said. It encourages workers to practice the gospel, thus reducing attrition and increasing fruit. As they're getting discouraged or tired as they're working extremely hard in their ministry, just to have that extra group that's supporting them. It positively affects the churches and ministries our missionaries serve with. It's this ripple effect, right? It's not just reciprocal, but the missionaries and the fruitfulness of their work and the ministries they're involved, the church they're involved with. So many benefit if we do this well. And to be honest, I had a really hard time doing this. Because already being a small group leader is a lot of work. And you're trying to connect with students, and I'm like, okay, I haven't met with so-and-so outside of in a month now, and this student hasn't been here in so long. So this is, for me, this is the one that got dropped often. Is I haven't connected with the missionary family in forever, and I feel guilty, and then I wouldn't do it. So we want to talk about it up front so you can set up a plan on how to do that. To meet with your student leaders and actually set that up. So it doesn't get dropped. Right? And there is a lot of different components and moving parts to this small group, so just to be talking about that at the front end so you can prepare for it. At the same time, the expectation is that none of us are perfect, and there's going to be parts that we can grow in and parts that we're going to be really good at. And both we need to work on. Okay? So this is a huge part of your small group. And what's cool about it is you think about ways to invite students into a task. Here is one. Right? Right away you have an opportunity with your small group. You can invite your students into practicing intentional community, right? To preserving church unity, to care for missionaries. How we do that practically, we've termed it practicing CPR. Okay? Maybe a little cheesy, but it works. CPR, connect, pray, reconnect. It's a cycle, right? So you have to actually connect, check in, okay, well, how are things going? How can we pray for you? Pray, and then come back and follow up. And find out what you're praying for, how it went, right? Because it's great to hear great praise reports, whatever you've been praying for. But just to be supporting them and continuing that relationship in that cycle. What you'll see, and we have an example of that, I think, in our small group questions for the night, because that's going to be our activity shortly. But there's going to be a part that is a reminder to connect with missionaries, or to pray for your missionaries, or to reconnect, right? As the cycle goes through. So we're going to work through that cycle with you guys. Examples of how to do that, and kind of the schedule as we enter into the year. Kickoff, get on the missionaries' email list and add them on Facebook. Send a message and explain to them, okay, we're such and such small group this year, and we're going to be the group that's supporting you as missionaries. How can we do that? And what's the best way to keep in touch and to know what's going on? On a weekly basis, pray for your missionary during small group time. And beyond that as well would be great. Monthly, message your missionary for prayer requests or read their monthly letter. Right? You want to get on that update letter list that they send out by email or by mail or however they do it. And then each semester, as much as possible, is to actually have an interactive connection with them. So that might mean Skype or FaceTime or over the phone. But even better is if you think about it, are they coming home? Are they coming to Ottawa anytime soon? Think Missions Conference, are they going to be there and can we actually meet them face to face? You know, the best is when they can come and actually sit in your small group on a Tuesday night. Right? And then everyone gets to meet them and you actually have a great time of prayer and supporting them. On the other side, where we really benefit is as students and as sponsors, we get to see what missionaries are doing, and God might want to grab hold of our hearts in those moments as well. As involved in supporting financially and giving and praying for missionaries, be involved in short-term trips and long-term and full-time if that's what God is calling you to. So we want students and sponsors to interact with that and to be involved in understanding what our church does and the opportunities that are there. So there are a lot of parts that go into being a sponsor and different things that are happening with Met Youth. And as time goes on, you're going to see different schedules like Bridges and gym night schedule and stuff like that. But we're going to be here, and Pastor Matt primarily, but as a team, we're here to support you. The coaching team is here to support you. So if you have questions on what to do, on either what events are coming up and what your responsibility there, or specifically on such and such student is having a hard time with this. We really want to be there and minister to you guys as you minister to students. And as you go and actually interact with them and are in the small group times, we want to make sure that you guys are growing and able to do that, do an incredible job at that. What I'm going to do now is hand out our small group questions, and as best as possible, you're going to get together in your groups here and go through these questions on the pages. These questions are, a lot of them, questions that are going to come up on how you want to do small groups. So things like how you want to do discussion prayer and connecting. How you want to do small group parties. How you want to deal with phones as a distraction, or different parts like that. So you guys will have an opportunity to think that way and pray together as a group. So I imagine, once I hand these out, if you can't see the board, to come up and look. And as best as possible, I said, I know some people aren't here this weekend, but to get together that way, do it this way. You guys can spread them out. As best as possible, it would be great if it was like groups like this, but I understand not everyone's here. So probably what would be best is if it's the junior high pair and the high school pairs. Okay, and student leaders to join your groups that way as well. Junior high and high school separately. Because the questions you're going to have to deal with, or your answer to the questions will be, well, some of them will be similar, but some will be very different. So you're going to go find a spot, even in here, but if you want to spread out, you might not be able to actually see outside. So in here, start dealing with these questions, take some time to pray, and then once you guys are done, I think we can head off to the fire, if that's where we're at. I think that's the next thing on our schedule. So take some time going through these questions, talking about and praying for your small groups together.